Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, joined by Riley Fessler. How are you, Riley?
Not too bad.
Excellent. And Minna Stein. How are you, Minna?
Splendid.
Excellent. Well, we're sort of here in the middle of the week. The main story of the day is that, oh my God, Kamala Harris is actually being interviewed by a journalist. It's going to make all the journalists so happy. That's going to happen tonight. When she is interviewed by Dana Bash on CNN alongside Tim Walz. But that manufactured story aside, what do you have for us, Riley?
The Israeli military has intensified its operations in the West Bank, killing 5 militants, including a local commander, in what is reported as the deadliest operation in the territory since the Gaza war began.
When you say militants, do you mean Palestinian militants, or do you mean the Israeli settler militants who have been killing the Palestinians?
I'll let you guess on that one, dude. I have to imagine.
Oh, I see.
The simultaneous raids across the northern West Bank, which have resulted in 16 deaths since late Tuesday, are aimed at preventing attacks, according to Israel. However, Palestinians view these actions as an expansion of the Israel-Hamas war and an attempt to reinforce Israel's long-standing military control over the area. The operations have largely targeted refugee camps and have further heightened tensions in the region.
Yeah, I mean, this is yet another sign that the Israelis do not want a solution to what's going on in Gaza. And it's an escalation of the ongoing efforts that they've made in the West Bank to dismantle Palestinian settlements, push the Palestinians out, weaken Palestinian claims, and it's caused a lot of death and suffering in the West Bank, which has been overshadowed by Gaza, although it should not be, because they are two halves of the same coin, two sides of the same coin. Riley?
In a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, Vice President Kamala Harris leads former President Donald Trump 45% to 41% among registered voters.
It's not enough.
Marking a wider gap than the 1-point lead she held in July. The poll shows Harris gaining significant support among women and Hispanic voters, leading Trump by 13 percentage points in both groups. Trump, however, maintains his lead among white voters and men, though his advantage among non-college educated voters has decreased. The poll highlights a shift in voter enthusiasm since President Joe Biden withdrew from the race, with Harris sparking enthusiasm among Democratic voters. Despite her gains, Trump still holds a slight lead in critical swing states.
Yeah, well, first of all, there are plenty of polls that show that he does not hold a lead in the swing states. And so I strongly encourage people to take all of these polls with a grain of salt. Also, as we know, since 2020, polls have been under measuring Democratic voter turnout, and almost every actual election that's taken place since then has shown Democrats outperforming what was predicted in polls. One interesting little tidbit from polls yesterday, however, was that Harris is seen by at least as many, actually slightly more people than Trump, as a change agent. Which is interesting because, of course, Biden was seen as the status quo, and here is the sitting vice president, and she's seen as a force for change. So that's interesting.
Former President Donald Trump's recent visit to Arlington National Cemetery sparked controversy when a cemetery official blocked his team from photographing the event, which aimed to highlight the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The incident, confirmed by the cemetery but with few details, involved Trump's team allegedly pushing and verbally abusing the official when prevented from filming near recent casualties' graves. Trump's campaign defended their actions, claiming the visit was authorized and meant to honor fallen soldiers, while critics, including Democratic Rep. Gary Connolly, demanded a public release of the incident report to ensure respect for the cemetery's sanctity.
Yeah, it's just the latest example that Trump, does not respect the military, does not respect the traditions of the military. This is the guy, after all, who called our war dead suckers and losers, who said about John McCain's tenure as a prisoner of war in Vietnam that I prefer my heroes not to get captured. And he, essentially sees Arlington National Cemetery as a useful prop. And showed no respect for the people who manage the place, or the other families of the fallen, including several who were shown in the photos, or the graves were shown in the photos that Trump promoted, without anybody's permission. It's a really ugly display, but it's a reminder that Trump holds the military in low regard, always has, always will. Riley?
The Supreme Court has maintained a temporary pause on President Biden's latest student debt relief plan, leaving millions of borrowers in limbo. This plan, a more limited effort following the court's rejection of a broader proposal last year, focuses on income-driven repayment adjustments, including reducing payments for low-income borrowers and offering quicker loan forgiveness. However, Republican-led states have challenged the plan, leading to its suspension by an appeals court. The Biden administration argues that the program is authorized by existing laws, but the case could return to the Supreme Court, further complicating Biden's efforts to provide student debt relief.
Well, the Republicans don't like people to get out of their tax obligations, obviously. They don't like these forgiveness programs, obviously. Oh, except when it's like during COVID, and they were all getting all these breaks for their corporation. Oh, and except when they're big corporations and they avoid paying taxes altogether, or anything else that's a break for a big corporation, like the incentives that big agriculture get or big oil get. I guess what they're really against is cutting the burdens of regular people, of just all of us who have to deal with things like student loan debt. My sense is this is a struggle that will continue, with Democrats trying to help out ordinary folks and Republicans trying to help the rich get richer. But that ain't news, so we're not going to talk about it here. That's just the way things have been for a long time. Well, that's it for today. We're sort of trudging through this week here, but there is a 3-day weekend at the end of it, with an abnormally early Labor Day looming on Monday. But for now, we can say goodbye, and thank you, Riley. Thank you, Minna. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll be back again tomorrow, right?
I'll be
That's
there.
right.
And
Bright and early.
Bright and early. But then it's all holiday weekend, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys are rushing off to the beach. Riley, I know you like to spend a lot of time on the beach.
I'm going somewhere even better. I'm going to Dayton, Ohio.
Oh boy.
My hometown.
Famous for its beaches.
Yeah, right. You have all the fun, Riley.
I know. I'm going to get my Skyline chili finally.
Yeah. Minna grew up with beaches her whole life, so she didn't even care anymore.
I did.
She didn't care. She's just going to be out there in Virginia. Whatever they have out where you live in Virginia. Minna, like cows. Are there cows out there?
I haven't seen any cows. I'm not saying there aren't any, but I haven't seen them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what goes on out there. I don't go too deep into Virginia. It scares me.
That's fair. It's just a bunch of white women deciding elections.
Well, yeah. Well, do make the right choice for us, please. And in fact, it's Virginia that starts the early voting in just 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So this whole election, you think it's happening in November? It's not. You got to go and find out where you can do early voting, because if you can vote early, you should vote early because it sends out a big message, and it helps get momentum started. So go look it up. Also, by the way, if you're not registered or you're not sure if you're registered, double check because there are a lot of states out there doing sort of nasty shenanigans. And it's better that you check now and have proof of your registration than you have a problem on election day and you can't deal with it. And even in that case, by the way, in most, I think in all states, if there's a challenge, vote and then work the challenge. But you're allowed to vote and then work the challenge. Anyway, we'll offer more useful tips as we go forward. Once again, thanks everybody. Bye bye.